Uh-oh, here comes the but.
Here comes the but. You can get shit done. Hillary can't get shit done. How can you beat Hillary?
Okay, well, let me just say, Iowans, you take your responsibilities very seriously. You have the first caucus. I mean, you make a big difference here in Iowa. At this time in previous presidential elections, the polls, the pundits, and the money said that Jimmy Carter couldn't win, Ronald Reagan couldn't win, Bill Clinton couldn't win, and Barack Obama couldn't win, and they all started winning here in Iowa. Okay? But you Iowans sometimes play hard to get. You got to see people a lot of times, right? Okay, I get it, it's all right. But whether or not you've decided you're committed to me, I know every single one of you out there in your heart of hearts, you just cannot wait to see me debate Hillary Clinton. And that's a fact. And you know why? Because I tell it like it is.
Yeah.
You remember when I said way back in February, and the media thought it was so mean. That was the word they used, mean. When I said, I too, like Mrs. Clinton, I've flown hundreds of thousands of miles around the globe, but I know that flying is an activity, not an accomplishment. Mrs. Clinton, name an accomplishment. The media thought I was mean. They told me that she had been a Secretary of State, that she had been a senator, that she had been a First Lady, and I said, those are all titles. They're all titles. A title is not an accomplishment. I have been saying for some time publicly, and people said it was such harsh language. I said, Mrs. Clinton lied about Benghazi, about her emails, about her server. And now, as more and more and more evidence comes out, the majority of American people know she lied. Here's the point. I can beat her, or, who knows what's going to happen with her. Maybe it's Joe Biden, maybe it's Bernie Sanders, maybe it's Elizabeth Warren. Whoever they put up, I can beat them because I will throw every punch we have. And we have a lot of punches to throw. Not in a below-the-belt way, not in an insulting way, in a fact-based way. It is a fact that Mrs. Clinton lied about Benghazi. By any common sense definition of the term, when you know it is a purposeful terrorist attack, that evening, and the next morning you get up and talk about a video which does not represent our values, and then 3 days later, over the bodies of the fallen, you talk about that video again, instead of saying this was a purposeful terrorist attack and we will seek retribution. And yes, Mrs. Clinton, it makes all the difference in the world. So, in a fact-based way, I will lay out for the American people what the impact of these policies is. The fact that Mrs. Clinton says Republicans are waging a war on women, really? You ought to go take a look at an article that came out just the other day. Mrs. Clinton's always talking about equal pay for equal work. Go take a look at how she pays her women staffers on her campaign and what positions they actually hold, and then go look at how I pay my women staffers and the positions they hold. And what you'll find is I have women in higher positions and they are paid better than hers, demonstrating once again that all too often progressives are hypocritical. So that's how I'm going to beat her, but I'm also going to beat her by saying this. We need to move forward in this country. We cannot continue to have partisan battles. Remember I said 75% of the American people think the federal government is corrupt. That means there's common ground. 82% of the American people think the professional political class has failed you. That's common ground. And so let me close, if I may, with what I believe this nation must be. And I don't think it's a partisan vision at all. I think every day about two of the most powerful symbols of our nation's democracy, Lady Liberty and Lady Justice. And I think they tell us everything about what we can be as a nation. Picture Lady Liberty. She stands tall and strong, which is what America must always be. She is clear-eyed and resolute. She doesn't shield her eyes from the realities of the world, but she also faces out into the world, which is the way we must always face. And she holds her torch high because she knows we are a beacon of hope in a very troubled world. And Lady Justice has a sword by her side because she's a fighter. She's a warrior for the values and the principles that have made this nation great. She holds a scale. And with that scale, she says, all of us are equal in the eyes of God. And therefore, all of us must be equal in the eyes of the law and government, powerful and powerless alike. And she wears a blindfold. With that blindfold, I think she is saying that it must be true. It can be true. That in this nation, in this century, it does not matter what you look like. It does not matter who you are. It does not matter how you start. It does not matter your circumstances. Here in this nation, every American's life must be filled with the possibilities that come from their God-given gifts. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so very much.